Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. My name is Stephen Dalton. I'm an Irish storyteller, and it's my great privilege to be the voice that you listen to as you go to sleep tonight. Tonight I present to you a collection of my stories that take you to ancient historical monuments and museums, from the Colosseum in Rome to the Met Museum in New York. Through these stories, you can travel back in time and enjoy the perspective that is offered when we are shown a glimpse of another world. I really hope you like it, and if you'd like more collections like these, let me know in the comments. Also, just one small thing. I'd like to thank those of you who have become patrons of my work on patreon.com. By becoming a patron, you gain exclusive early access to my stories and also to stories with no sound or music. And if you'd like to become a patron, the link is below this video. Thank you. Okay, let's do the relaxation session now, which will take a few minutes before tonight's sleep story. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as I do, allow yourself to let go more and more. 10. Feel the support beneath you, whether it be the bed or the floor or simply the earth. Feel the constantness of the earth supporting you. It's always there. And see if you can let go a little bit more now. Just relax, soften a little bit more. Allow the fact of that support to enable you to let go. 9. You are safe. Know that my voice will only take you to safe places. Allow my voice to be an anchor of safety tonight. A voice that will only bring coziness and warmth and kind, inviting places for you to visit as you move closer to sleep. 8. Feel into your body now. Notice anything, whether you're still holding, whether there's any tension or pain. And wherever you might still be holding, see if you can let go a little more now. Maybe you're holding in your feet, maybe in your hands, maybe in your face, maybe in your belly. Your body has worked hard for you today. Allow it to rest now. 7. The day is done. Whatever has been, has been. Whatever will be, will be. Any thoughts or any dwelling on what has gone today doesn't serve you now. Don't blame yourself for having the thoughts. It's part of being human. And whatever thoughts you may have about what is to come, they don't serve you either right now. So just see the thoughts and allow them to float away like leaves on a river or clouds in a starry sky. Six, you deserve rest. You deserve sleep. We all do. So allow that fact to let you sink a little deeper and know that you are deserving of this moment. 5. See if you can feel the peace that lives within you now. There is always peace within you. It is a part of you, as much a part of you as your heart and soul and mind. Peace is there to be found. It sits quietly, unassumingly, humbly, waiting for you to feel it. So feel that peace within you now. 4. You have nowhere to be, nowhere to go. This is your time. Enjoy that fact. Enjoy the coziness of this moment. You don't have to see anyone. You can just sink into this moment that is all yours. 3. Begin to engage with your imagination now. 2. Tune into your body one more time. And if you're holding anywhere still, just ease that tension. Release. 1. Completely letting go now, as I tell you tonight's sleep story. You are in New York City. It's a rainy night. The rain falls from the heavens. It falls hard on the streets, and you stand well wrapped up under your umbrella as you make your way across the street now, walking with the crowds, enjoying this moment, enjoying that you are in one of the greatest cities in all the world. This is the place where so many great lives have passed through. And you are here now, on this rainy, cozy night. And the best part of it is, tonight you are going to the Metropolitan Museum, otherwise known as the Met. You arrive in through the grand doors. There's no one here, apart from a smiling guide called Sarah. Tonight, Sarah is your friend. She is going to show you around this magnificent place. She has a plan for you to make your night very special. You feel immediately happy in her presence. Perhaps it's her welcoming smile and energy that make you feel safe. Sarah tells you that this great institution has been in existence from the 1870s, when a group of Americans were inspired by the Parisians and decided to open a national institution for the American people. This place houses great art, ancient artifacts, and all manner of wonders. And tonight, it's all yours to discover. You know, us humans are at our best when we are curious. Take a deep breath now and allow yourself to be ready to be curious. The first stop on your tour with Sarah is a Van Gogh painting called Irises. Sarah stands in front of it with you and tells you to let the hues of purple and the swirls of the brush strokes to pull you in As you look closer, it's almost as if the irises start to sway gently. The bursts of yellow and green in the background create a mesmeric energy. Maybe you can smell the freshness of the flowers, hear the rustle of their leaves, and maybe you find your own thoughts slowing down, matching the tranquil, repetitive motion of Van Gogh's brushstrokes. Perhaps you imagine the moment this was painted. Where was the great man standing as he created this beauteous picture? What was the world like that he inhabited? It was a different world to ours, that's for sure. It's time to move on. You walk with Sarah through the great halls of the museum. Everything around you catches your eye. Sarah takes you to an intricately carved jade sculpture from ancient China. It's a small piece, yet it seems to contain a world within it. Sarah tells you that jade is highly prized in Chinese culture, both for its beauty and its symbolism. You look closer at the sculpture of a little person. You imagine how this sculpture has traveled for thousands of years to be here now. Maybe you imagine the hands that must have carved this tiny masterpiece. The world that they inhabited. The smells that person smelled. The sounds they heard. Now, you move on. And soon you are standing in front of an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus. Notice the hieroglyphs Sarah says. And even without touching them, you almost sense the texture of the carved stone, the etched out stories reaching out to you across millennia. These artifacts are so old that they could almost come from a different planet. The world that they were created in was so very different to our own. But at the same time, there is something universally human about all of this. And in a way, maybe when you look at these artifacts, you are reminded that we are more similar than different, even to our ancient ancestors. Maybe you imagine ancient Egypt, the pyramids being built, people sailing along the Nile, now Sarah takes you to a 19th century American landscape painting, which captures the untamed beauty of the Hudson River Valley. It's like the painting almost invites you into its world. You can hear the river. Maybe you feel the atmosphere of this place. It evokes a simpler time and a connection with nature that feels like a deep inhale and exhale for your soul. You continue your tour, becoming more and more immersed in this curious state, becoming more and more separated from all that you know. You can relax here. You wander into a room filled with medieval armor. Sarah tells you that you're stepping into a world that witnessed knights and chivalry. As you approach a suit of armor, it's like you can hear the galloping of the horses as the knights who wore this armor sat atop those noble animals. You look at the craft work, and perhaps you dwell on the fact that even though this armor was made 800, 1,000 years ago maybe, the humans who created it were so clever, were so skilled. It's wonderful, really, that every generation learns from the last. Every generation develops on the ideas of the previous one. It reminds us that we need each other to prosper, to move forward. Next, Sarah takes you to an area devoted to indigenous American art. You see the rich colors and intricate patterns of a Navajo rug hanging elegantly on the wall. The weaving is a form of storytelling, Sarah tells you. Maybe you can almost feel the fibers between your fingers. Maybe you can see that world, that beautifully simple world that the indigenous Americans inhabited. That wide open landscape. Breathe it in. You move on. And you talk with Sarah about the fact that it kind of feels like every piece in the Metropolitan Museum holds its own universe. each one beckoning you to step in and experience its unique resonance. This museum at nighttime turns into a space where time doesn't feel like it exists, where the distant past and the immediate present coexist in a harmonious dance. Allow yourself to feel the peace offered by this place, the good intentions of this place. All of this is done for good. Next, you move into another room that displays timepieces from various eras, from sundials to ornate Renaissance clocks. Time has always fascinated humans, Sarah says. Perhaps you once again are amazed by how advanced our ancestors really were. Sure, they didn't have planes or cars, but they were able to make amazing things. And this place just brings that home to you. Perhaps a meditative tranquility washes over you. Allow yourself to accept it, for you are soaking in the beauty of human ingenuity. Next, you move to a room that exhibits old clothing. Not just any old clothing, you see, but beautiful, ornate, detailed, fascinating clothing. You're struck by the craftsmanship of an 18th century gown. This gown is 300 years old. Its intricate lacework and detailed embroidery just show how many hours of labor and how much love was poured into it. Where was this worn? Who wore it? Was it worn at a grand dance? Maybe you can see that world now. People dancing in a beautiful unison, feeling the freedom of what it is to move with ease in front of and in rhythm with other human beings. Next, you look at a display of 1920s flapper dresses. They shimmer with sequins and fringe. This was the roaring 20s, Sarah says. Fashion became a language of liberation and self-expression. You close your eyes briefly. Maybe you can hear the distant echo of jazz through the ages. Maybe you can feel the exuberance and the hope that defined that era. Now you look at another two interesting pieces. Sarah tells you these were pieces worn by icons, each one capturing a moment in time. The first is a classic black dress that was worn by Audrey Hepburn. It embodies an era of elegance and simplicity. Maybe she wore it on a film set. Maybe to a premiere. Next, you look at a costume that belonged to David Bowie. Maybe he wore this in a live performance in front of thousands of people. You think of what it is to preserve these things. To let us see into worlds past. To let us understand the line that we continue. To let us feel connection to who and why and what we are. Now Sarah walks you to a very grand area of the museum. Charles Engelhard Court. This beautiful square in the museum has an astonishingly beautiful glass roof. And here is where Sarah leaves you, under this amazing roof, to sit in peace for a while and to enjoy the sound of the rain as it falls on the glass roof above. Allow yourself now to contemplate what you have seen tonight, to feel a deep inner peace, knowing that when humans work together, we are capable of such great things, of such kindness, of such shared joy, of such ingenuity, and of such common good. You find yourself standing at the monumental entrance to the Colosseum, the world's largest ancient amphitheater. Marco, your knowledgeable guide, welcomes you with a radiant smile. With a lantern in hand, he invites you to step through the archway, reminding you that this structure, completed in 80 AD, could once hold more than 50,000 spectators. As you begin to walk through the ancient corridors, you start to look around. You look at the stone that lines the walls, the ceilings, and the floor beneath you. Perhaps you imagine the moment each of these stones was placed here. What human being thousands of years ago put this piece of stone here. You touch a wall, and a particular stone, and perhaps for a fleeting moment you envision that person working on a hot Roman day 2 millennia ago. A different world in some ways. Indeed, a very different time in human history. Marco sees that you are looking at the stone and explains that the Colosseum was built mainly of travertine limestone, tough and black-faced concrete. The limestone, he tells you, was quarried from the hills of Rome, requiring countless workers to transport the massive blocks. Your footsteps seem to echo in some way the labor of those who laid these stones, and the air smells of time-worn rock and a subtle, earthy dampness that is both grounding and fascinating. You arrive at the first overlooking point where you can gaze upon the arena. You look down on this so very ancient place. Normally, of course, this place is filled with tourists. But right now, you are alone here with your friendly guide, feeling perhaps extremely privileged to witness this place at nighttime. The stars look down from above. The stars that weren't much different when this place was built. The ancient Romans who built and worked and saw games in this place once looked up on those stars as well. In a way, maybe you feel connected to those people, through the stars above. Marco tells you, as you look down on the splendid Colosseum, that it was used for a variety of public spectacles, including gladiator contests, battle reenactments, and dramas based on classical mythology. All of this history seems to hang in the air, blending with the moonlight that seeps through the arches, casting intricate patterns on the ancient stone. The amphitheater feels alive with both the past and the living, breathing night. Marco now directs you to the upper levels, and as you walk, he mentions that the Colosseum was so ingeniously designed that it could be emptied of its tens of thousands of spectators in mere minutes through 80 entrances. Perhaps you sense the blend of human ingenuity and the raw beauty of nature as you breathe in the cooler air from this height. You look out from the Colosseum and can see the modern city of Rome stretching out in all directions, a reminder of how the ancient and modern coexist here. You reach a quiet spot now, where you pause to take this moment in. This is a powerful place, and you breathe in and out. In and out, reminding yourself that this is such a unique opportunity, a moment you will never forget. Marco tells you that the Colosseum went through centuries of neglect. At different times in history, people didn't appreciate its value. At different times it was used for housing, workshops, and even a quarry. But the Colosseum still stands as a symbol of imperial Rome. It is a living testament to both the grandeur and the complexity of human history. Your lantern light seems to dance with the twinkling stars above. Each pinpoint of light, a silent witness to the eons that have passed since this stone behemoth was first erected. Now you and Marco descend from the upper levels, and he leads you towards the Roman Forum side of the Colosseum. The Forum, he explains, was the epicenter of Roman public life. Just as the Colosseum was the epicenter of its entertainment. Marco tells you that he will bring you to the Forum a little later. As you walk, your hands lightly brush against the worn stone. Each groove and indentation telling stories of time and human touch. With a soft glow from your lantern revealing the way, Marco ushers you to another area and tells you that the Colosseum was built on the site of an artificial lake that was part of Nero's immense palace. The Domus Aurea. Once that tyrannical emperor was gone, the Flavian emperors decided to give the space back to the Roman people. Maybe you can almost smell the ancient waters as Marco describes them, imagining the transformation from a lake for the pleasure of one to an arena for the masses. Marco tells you that the original name of the Colosseum was the Flavian Amphitheater, named after the Flavian dynasty of emperors who built it. The term Colosseum was derived much later, inspired by a colossal statue of Nero that used to stand nearby. Maybe the fact that this tidbit talks of such grandiosity that the very name of this place is rooted in something larger than life. Maybe this adds to the weight of this moment, knowing that the countless events of this place have shaped its identity over many centuries. Next, you enter what seems like a maze of underground chambers and tunnels, known as the Hypogeum. This subterranean world was invisible to the spectators, but was essential to the spectacles. Marco explains that exotic animals were kept here, alongside gladiators and stage props. As you walk, you feel a change in temperature. It's cooler here and slightly more humid, as if the earth itself is whispering secrets of a world gone by. You can still look up to the sky from here. You feel safe, And maybe your imagination imagines the activity that once happened right where you stand. The shows were elaborate in the Colosseum. The emperors were eager to please their people, and so the activity underneath this stage would have been immense. Maybe for a moment you see a buzz of activity as stagehands manage the lifts that would bring people and animals up to the main floor. Perhaps you are amazed at the ingenuity of these ancient people. Before you proceed further, Marco pauses to let you absorb the atmosphere. In that silence, maybe you find a deep connection to the labyrinthine paths of history and the multitude of lives that have converged in this very spot. He turns to you and says, "These stones have witnessed emperors and commoners, cruelty and courage, beginnings and ends. And tonight, they witness you. Now Marco tells you that it's time to leave the Colosseum and go and have a walk outside in the Forum. The Forum is another ancient site. It was, in a way, the downtown of ancient Rome. As you exit the Colosseum, the grand structure casts a long shadow on the path ahead. And you imagine the many ancient Romans who walked in and out of these doors. And as you walk, you look back and see numbers above the doors. Marco explains to you that the Romans would have had a form of ticket, and each ticket would have told them which number door to enter. Now you take a leisurely stroll toward the Roman Forum, guided by the soft illumination of the moon and distant city lights. As you enter the Forum, Marco explains that this was the heartbeat of ancient Rome. Political gatherings, social meetings, and commercial activities all took place here. Even after 2 millennia, the ground seems to hum with the echoes of senatorial debate. The air is laced with a subtle scent of foliage from nearby trees, a reminder that nature continues its eternal cycle amid human-made grandeur. You walk among the ruins of ancient temples and churches, each building with its own unique history. And as you walk, you look down to the floor beneath you. This is the original ancient Roman road. Large stones cover the ground. And you can almost recreate the splendor of that ancient place in your mind's eye. You are walking on the same stones that people like Marcus Aurelius once did. Marco points out the Temple of Saturn, telling you it was one of the Forum's oldest temples, built initially in 497 BC. In its heyday, it functioned as the treasury and was also closely related to the Saturnalia, a festival dedicated to the god Saturn. Maybe you imagine ancient Romans here, engaging in merriment, and maybe you allow a sense of joy to be a part of this very human experience. Your guide leads you to the base of the Palatine Hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome. Legend has it that Rome was founded here by Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers raised by a she-wolf. As you stand there, overlooking the Forum and its ancient structures, bathed in moonlight, maybe a sense of peaceful solitude washes over you. Marco looks at you and says, "Though the voices have long since faded, and the stones have weathered many storms, the soul of Rome is immortal, and tonight you've touched it." With an inviting nod, Marco suggests ascending Palatine Hill for an even more expansive view. As you climb the gentle slope, The ruins of the Forum grow smaller, yet somehow more majestic, enveloped in the hushed tones of the night. Once at the top, you're greeted by the sprawling ruins of what was once the imperial palace, home to emperors, and the backdrop for decisions that changed the course of history. Marco tells you this was not just a seat of power, but a canvas of art adorned with mosaics, frescoes, and gardens. You walk along the Farnese gardens, and while the plants have changed over the years, Marco assures you that the layout is mostly true to its historical form. Perhaps you imagine here the ancient Roman nobles, the emperor and his wife, and their children enjoying the gardens here. Maybe it reminds you that we as humans are all connected in one way or another. Our connection to nature binds us together, even over thousands of years. These people weren't that different to you or I. They loved the smell of roses. They loved to look upon a starry night. To feel a comforting summer breeze upon their faces. Marco then guides you to a lookout point that offers an almost aerial view of the Forum and Colosseum. Standing there, you realize how all of these monumental structures are interconnected much like the complex web of stories, ambitions, and destinies that played out here. As you take in the view, Marco tells you about the Roman concept of genius loci, the protective spirit of a place. He explains how ancient Romans believed that locations had their own distinct spirits, which influenced the lives and events that unfolded there. As he speaks, a light wind rises, as if affirming the presence of something ancient, yet eternal. After a moment of shared silence, Marco suggests it's time to make your way back. As you descend the hill and retrace your steps through the forum, the comforting realization settles within you. You've communed with a fragment of eternity, witnessed by the spirits and stones of Rome. Then Marco says, in the quiet of the night, Rome isn't just a place you see, but a place you feel deep in your soul. As you reach the edge of the Roman Forum, Marco turns to you one last time. Remember, he says, Rome is not just a place on a map. It's a feeling, a layering of stories, epochs, and souls. When you walk through its ancient streets and stand among its millennia-old ruins, you're becoming a part of its grand narrative. And tonight, you've done just that. Connecting not just with the visible stones and structures, but also with the invisible essence that is Rome. He hands you a small keepsake, a replica of an ancient Roman coin, a small memory of a night in which you've traveled through time, he says, his voice tinged with warmth. As you hold the coin, it's as if you're holding a piece of Rome's enduring spirit, a spirit that will continue to echo in your heart long after you've left. You say your goodbyes and walk away from the forum, feeling the energy of the ancient city within you. The night seems a shade darker now. Its stars a bit brighter, as if winking their approval of your nocturnal journey through time. Your visit to the Rodin Museum, or Musée Rodin, begins on a tranquil, sunlit morning in Paris. As you approach the museum, the elegant Hôtel Biron, as it was once known, with its classic Parisian architecture, you see how it stands majestically in the middle of a serene garden. The beauty of the building, with its cream-colored facade and graceful windows framed by creeping ivy, is a harmonious blend of art, history, and nature. After getting your ticket, you enter into the courtyard of the museum. You then enter the museum through its grand doors. Doors that have seen many famous artists and people of note walk through, not least Rodin, and you find yourself in a spacious hall and a beautiful staircase in front of you. You climb the stairs and walk through various rooms, each dedicated to different periods of Rodin's life and work. Rodin lived in the 19th century in Paris. He lived during La Belle Époque, one of the most exciting and artistically vibrant periods in all of human history. And as you walk through this museum, you begin to get a feeling of that time. The museum, with its high ceilings and soft, natural light, creates an atmosphere of hushed reverence, inviting you to explore at a leisurely pace. You first decide to look at some of Rodin's earlier works. Here, each sculpture and bust is displayed thoughtfully, allowing you to appreciate the details and the evolution of Rodin's style. You're drawn to a sculpture then, titled The Age of Bronze, a life-size figure that captures the beauty and complexity of the human form. Rodin was obsessed with the human form. The realism of the sculpture is striking. Every muscle and sinew is rendered with such precision that it seems almost alive. Breathe in this moment where you are being given permission to be curious, to learn from a great artist of the past, to be in a beautiful place and enjoy this enchanting atmosphere, to be surrounded by some of the greatest art ever created by the human hand. You move to a bigger room, and you are greeted by the very famous sculpture, The Kiss. A man and a woman in an embrace. This sculpture can say 1,000,000 different things to 1,000,000 different people. But when I have seen it, I always feel the comfort that we find in love. You circle around the sculpture, observing the expressions that are being conveyed. It's a powerful reminder of Rodin's ability to convey deep emotions through different mediums. Eventually you exit the room and you find yourself in a corridor that leads to a quiet, sun-drenched courtyard. This outdoor space is home to several of Rodin's sculptures, gracefully positioned among the greenery. The garden, a blend of art and nature, is a peaceful haven in the midst of the bustling city. You take a moment to sit on a bench, surrounded by the beauty of the sculptures and the gentle sounds of the garden. You then go and find perhaps one of Rodin's most well-known sculptures, perhaps one of the best-known sculptures ever created. In this quiet circular garden, you find yourself in a private audience with the thinker. Sitting on a bench directly opposite the sculpture, you take a moment to just breathe in the serenity of your surroundings, feeling a unique sense of connection with this masterpiece. You can't take your eyes off it. The thinker is perched atop a stone pedestal, dominating the space with its introspective presence. The figure of a man, larger than life, sits in deep contemplation, his elbow resting on his knee, his hand supporting his chin. As you gaze upon the sculpture, you're struck by the exquisite detail Rodin has managed to capture in bronze. The muscular tension of the figure's back, the furrows of his brow, and the overall posture speak of a profound internal struggle or a search for deeper understanding. The natural light of the garden plays upon the sculpture, highlighting the texture of the bronze, the play of shadows and light, accentuating the thoughtful expression and the physicality of the figure. You observe the thoughtful pose, reflecting the statue's name, and you can't help but ponder yourself. What deep thoughts might be consuming him? Is he contemplating the nature of human existence? The mysteries of the universe? Or the struggles of the human experience? As you sit there, the rest of the world seems to fade away, leaving just you and the thinker, or as it's known in French, le penseur, in a moment of shared stillness. It's almost as if the sculpture invites you to join in its contemplation, to take a step back from the everyday and engage in your own introspection. The garden around you is peaceful. The occasional rustle of leaves or distant sound of the city, merely background to this moment of quietude. You let your eyes roam over the sculpture, taking in every detail, every line and curve that Rodin has masterfully created. The thinker is more than just a piece of art. It's a meditation on the human condition, a symbol of the intellectual struggle, and a testament to Rodin's skill. Now, you read in your guidebook that the Musée Rodin was actually Rodin's studio in the 19th century. You quietly wish that you could have been alive in those times and witnessed the great man at work. To visit Paris in La Belle Époque, what a thing. Then you close your eyes and you just begin to imagine it. The world, the smells, the sounds. Then you actually hear the distant clatter of a horse carriage in the distance. and you open your eyes, and the thinker isn't in front of you anymore. You stand up and look around. The grand house is still there, but it looks somehow different, and the surroundings have changed significantly. The realization dawns on you that the whole world around you has transformed. The garden, once quiet and solitary, now bustles with the vibrant energy of a different era. You're standing in the same place, but you realize that you've been transported back in time to the 1880s, the heart of La Belle Époque in Paris. As you take in your surroundings, the smell of fresh paint and clay wafts through the air, mingling with the scent of blooming flowers in the garden. You realize that you are indeed at Auguste Rodin's studio, the very place where the master created his renowned works. With a sense of awe and disbelief, you walk towards the studio. Inside, the space is alive with artistic endeavor. Sculptures in various stages of completion fill the room, and the walls are adorned with sketches and paintings. In the center of the studio, focused intently on his work, stands Auguste Rodin himself. Rodin's presence is commanding. His hands skillfully shaping a piece of clay that will eventually become one of his timeless works. He glances up, noticing you, and his discerning eyes hold a spark of curiosity. Art is the expression of the soul, he says, in French, but you understand him. His voice is rich and measured. It's a reflection of our deepest emotions, our struggles, and our triumphs. To create is to live, to connect with the very essence of what it means to be human. You watch, mesmerized, as Rodin returns to his work, his movements a dance of creation. The opportunity to witness one of the greatest sculptors in the act of creation is a profound experience. His words echo in your mind, a piece of wisdom that transcends time, connecting his era to yours. As you stand in the studio, surrounded by the creative energy of the 1880s, perhaps you feel a deep connection to this historical moment. Rodin, engrossed in his work, shapes the clay with a kind of passionate focus, a deeply human focus, an ability like his is rare, and to see it firsthand is astounding. It is comparable to seeing Da Vinci paint. For Rodin is one of the greatest sculptors to ever live. You take a moment to quietly observe the details of the studio, the way the light filters through the window, casting shadows on the sculptures and sketches that fill the room. The studio is a realm of artistic chaos and beauty, with tools scattered about, pieces of clay and marble in various corners, and the air filled with the tangible presence of creative endeavor. This is a simpler time you are in, a time when humans had such an opportunity to deeply delve into their work without distraction. Rodin pauses, wiping his hands on a cloth. He looks at you thoughtfully. Art, he begins, is not about perfection. It's about emotion, about capturing the essence of the human spirit. Each stroke, each shape should speak of the artist's journey, their truth. Remember, what we create is a reflection of our own soul. Perhaps his words resonate with you, striking a chord deep within. Here, in the presence of one of the greatest artists of the era, you feel an overwhelming sense of inspiration. The studio, with its bustle and artistic fervor, feels like a portal to understanding the heart of creativity. After a while, you step outside the studio, back into the garden. The Paris of the 1880s is alive around you. You walk around the garden, where some of Rodin's sculptures stand, their forms even more poignant, knowing they are fresh from the artist's hands. You hear the sounds of carriages in the distance, the chatter of people walking along the streets, and the general hum of a city at the peak of its artistic renaissance. As you wander through the garden, absorbing the sights and sounds of this historic era, the experience, of course, feels surreal. A journey through time that has allowed you a glimpse into the life and work of a master artist. Rodin gestures for you to come back, and heeding his call, you return to the studio, where the artist now invites you to try your hand at sculpting. He sets a small piece of clay before you on a wooden table, alongside a few basic sculpting tools. The thought of creating something under Rodin's guidance is both exhilarating and daunting, but his presence is reassuring, encouraging even, and you feel safe. Sculpture is a conversation between the artist and the medium. Rodin begins. Listen to the clay. Let it guide your hands. He demonstrates a few techniques, showing you how to mold and shape the clay, his fingers moving with a grace that only comes from years of dedication to his craft. You tentatively begin, your fingers pressing into the cool, pliable clay. There's a meditative quality to the act of sculpting, a deep focus that draws you away from the noise of the world and into the present moment. The clay feels alive under your touch, responsive and yielding. As you shape it, Rodin speaks softly, sharing his philosophy. Each of us has an innate ability to create, to bring forth something beautiful from the depths of our soul. It's not just about technique or skill. It's about expression, about bearing a part of yourself in your work. His words flow over you like a gentle stream, soothing and insightful. You find yourself lost in the rhythm of sculpting, the world around you fading into a blur. The clay begins to take shape under your hands, not into any specific form, but into an expression of the tranquility and introspection you feel in this moment. Eventually, you step back, looking at the piece you've created. It may not be a masterpiece, but it's a physical manifestation of your thoughts and feelings, a tangible piece of your time in Rodin's world. As the sculpting lesson concludes, Rodin suggests a walk into the heart of Paris, an opportunity to see the city through the eyes of an artist during La Belle Époque. You leave the studio behind, stepping into the bustling streets of 1880s Paris, a world teeming with life and creativity. The architecture of their buildings, with their ornate facades and wrought iron balconies, speaks of an era that valued beauty and artistry in every corner. As you stroll through the streets, Rodin points out the various sights and sounds of the city. You pass by lively cafes, where artists and writers gather together, engaged in animated discussions, and street vendors selling flowers and freshly baked goods. The aroma of coffee and pastries fills the air, mingling with the scent of blooming flowers, from the nearby parks. Rodin shares his observations about the city and its inhabitants. Paris, he says, is more than just a city. It's a source of inspiration, a place where artists and dreamers come to find their muse, the energy, the light, the people. They all contribute to the amazing life of this place. You walk along the Seine, watching the gentle flow of the river that has been the backdrop to so many artists' works. The water reflects the city's lights and the sky's changing colors. Boats glide gracefully along the river, and as the evening sets in, the city lights begin to twinkle, casting a magical glow over the streets. Your walk with Rodin through Paris is not just a physical journey, but a journey through the heart of art and culture. It is a moment you will never forget. As you open your eyes, the familiar sight of the thinker in the peaceful garden of the Musée Rodin greets you. The transition back to your own time is both sudden and gentle. For a moment, you sit there, taking it all in. The echoes of your extraordinary journey into the past still resonating within you. You stand up from the bench, feeling a profound connection to the sculpture before you. The thinker no longer seems just like a masterpiece of art. It feels like a bridge between the past and the present, between your encounter with Rodin and the world you live in. You continue your walk through the museum. Each piece you see now feels more alive, more meaningful. The other visitors around you appreciate the art, each in their own way. But you carry with you a secret, a personal connection to Rodin's world, a memory of a conversation with the artist himself. And as you have this thought, You put your hand in your pocket and you feel something there. You take it out. It is your sculpture that you created in La Belle Époque. Your proof that it really happened. You are standing in the warm desert sands of Egypt. It is a balmy, early summer's evening, and you are looking up at the majestic pyramids of Giza. You've seen them in the movies. You've seen them in photos. But now you stand in front of them. Their scale is something to behold. To see them in real life is to understand just how intelligent and how amazing it is that human beings over 4,000 years ago built these spectacular structures. Your tour guide is an energetic woman named Layla. She has a deep knowledge and passion for her country's history. She has spent her life walking amongst these structures, and there is something timeless about her. She is sharing her insights about these iconic monuments. She tells you that the pyramids were built around 4,500 years ago, during Egypt's old kingdom, and that they are one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the only ones still standing. Layla tells you that the largest pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, contains over 2 million blocks of stone, each weighing around 2.5 tons. She speaks passionately about the precision with which these structures were built, aligning the cardinal points and the stars, a testament to the Egyptians' advanced understanding of mathematics and astronomy. And as she talks about the stars, your eyes are drawn skyward, and you notice that the first stars are coming into view. You stand here in this deeply ancient and deeply energetic place and close your eyes for a moment. and with Layla, you both just breathe in this place, almost like you can feel or even touch the history. You walk on further, and Layla tells you about the symbolic significance of the pyramids as stairways to heaven, enabling the pharaoh's soul to ascend to the afterlife. For these pyramids are also final resting places for the pharaohs, the kings or queens of this ancient civilization. As Layla's voice echoes with the narratives of pharaohs and divine legends, you feel a pull towards exploration. And so you ask her, can you walk further into the site? She accompanies you, and it feels like she wants to show you something very special. She looks around and sees that you and her are alone. She stands next to the Great Pyramid and simply pushes one particular small piece of rock. And as she does, the world around you seems to slow down. The modern world seems to fade away and is slowly replaced by the ancient scenery of a bustling construction site, echoing with the sounds of an ancient civilization in its prime. Layla looks at you with a smile. She tells you that you are very safe. She also tells you that she wanted to give you a real tour of ancient Egypt. She tells you that she has been here before. You look at her and see that her clothing has changed. You look at yourself and see that the same has happened for you. You both blend into this ancient place, and you are free to explore and to see the real ancient Egypt. You look to where the pyramid just was, and you see that it is now only half the size that it was before. The people are dressed differently too, and they speak in a very unusual language. Again, you and Layla close your eyes and take some deep breaths. It is still evening time, and the stars are beginning to shine above you. The moon beginning to show its beautiful face. Gone are the distant honking of horns, and instead you notice there is more serenity in this place. This, you feel, is in many ways a simpler, different place. Then you hear a voice behind you. You look and see a tall, slender man wearing fine clothes, his face smiling, as if he knew you were coming. "Welcome, my friend," he says. "It's nice to see you again, Layla." The man's voice is warm and welcoming, and he smiles to you, welcoming you to his time. His eyes sparkle with wisdom, and he carries an air of authority that commands respect. "I am Pharaoh Khufu," he says. His voice has a resonance that brings with it a sense of timelessness. He addresses you. "It seems you have traveled a great distance to be here. Not just in miles, but in time as well. You feel safe in his presence. Welcome to this place. And you, Layla, and the Pharaoh begin to walk into this ancient place. You find yourself sharing stories of your life and your time with Pharaoh Khufu. He is eager to learn. He listens attentively He nods occasionally and interjects with thoughtful questions. As the day becomes night and you look back to see the sun setting behind the pyramids, you once again, all three of you now, turn to witness this spectacular moment. Each of you close your eyes and in a way, your breath becomes in sync, a shared breath, if you like, a breath that spans the ages. Pharaoh Khufu now invites you to share a meal. He gestures for you to follow him. Layla is also eager to learn. She seems to use these visits to the past in order to become more educated about this world. You walk through marketplaces and even past the great river Nile. All around you are people just going about their lives. Perhaps the thought comes to you that these humans could just as easily be living in our time. If you were to put modern clothes on them, they could look like anyone else that you see on a daily basis. And in a way, this thought allows you to feel more at home here. Despite the thousands of years between you, these people are humans, just like you, doing their best in life, just like you, loving, losing, breathing, just like you. You see people trading. You see people laughing, smiling. Perhaps you feel some gratitude for this amazing opportunity. and Layla assures you that you are safe and can return to your time whenever you want. You go down to the river Nile with the Pharaoh and Layla. Here you see magnificent birds and the calming waters of this great river soothe your soul as the night sky comes into its fullest. There, in the moonlight, is a beautiful carved wooden boat. This is the Pharaoh's boat, and he offers you to board it so that you can travel with him and Layla to his palace. You lie back in the luxurious boat, feeling the gentle, rhythmic rocking from the barely visible ripples in the water as you gently move bit by bit towards the palace. As you approach the palace, you begin to notice the details. Tall columns, carved to perfection, stand in rows. Lush gardens bloom with vibrant flowers. Their sweet scent carried by the gentle evening breeze. It is serene here, tranquil, majestic. Inside the palace is even more magnificent. Gold and precious stones sparkle from every corner, and the air smells of exotic spices and incense. Every room is huge and grand, decorated with meticulous detail. servants move about silently, offering refreshments and maintaining the perfection of the palace. Soon you are sitting to eat, and as the three of you sit together, Pharaoh Khufu shares his insights about life, about his kingdom, and about the construction of the pyramid. He speaks with passion and a deep love for his people. Perhaps in this moment you realize that even in ancient times like this, there has already been so much history for these people to look back upon. Pharaoh Khufu tells you of his ancestors, great battles won and lost, of empires rising and falling. You look at the artifacts in the room, each telling their own story. A vase, beautifully crafted and painted, depicting a scene of harvest. An ornate box, its carvings representing a story of love and betrayal. As you listen to the Pharaoh speak, you understand that he has vision for his people. He speaks not just of the present, but also of the future. And again, perhaps in this moment, you understand that shared humanity that exists between you all. Soon, you begin to feel very sleepy, and you are shown to a magnificent room. Where you are offered the opportunity of sleep to sleep in ancient Egypt, the stuff that only dreams are made of. You bid good night to Layla and the Pharaoh, and now are alone in this beautiful room, feeling so safe. It feels like a room from a storybook, from an ancient fairy tale set in the land of the pharaohs. The room is adorned with grand pillars carved from white limestone and decorated with hieroglyphics telling the stories of ancient times. The centerpiece of the room is a beautiful bed made of dark wood. And as you sink onto it, you feel the tension from your body dissolve, enjoying being surrounded by deeply luxurious Egyptian cotton. As your eyelids grow heavy, you look around the room one last time. And slowly and gently you fall in to a deep and rejuvenating sleep. Now, allow me to take you to Athens. As the sun sets over Athens, you find yourself at the base of the Acropolis, preparing for a once-in-a-lifetime tour of the Parthenon. Your guide for the evening is Amalia, an archaeologist whose enthusiasm for ancient history is, well, contagious. She greets you warmly. Tonight, she says, we will be walking through millennia of history under the stars. You ascend the steps leading to the Parthenon, the cityscape of Athens spreading out below you like a blanket of twinkling lights. Amalia leads the way. flashlight illuminates the marbled pathway. The night air is crisp, laced with a scent of blooming jasmine from some nearby gardens. You hear the sound of crickets, and it feels so free here. You have nothing to do but to be curious and to enjoy this moment. Allow every step that you take to be a step back in time, and allow the modern world to fade away just for tonight. As you approach the Parthenon, Amelia starts talking to you about the golden ratio, about how the temple's dimensions embody the divine proportion. She tells you that the ancient Greeks were artists, but they were also mathematicians. She invites you to touch one of the Doric columns. The marble is surprisingly warm, as if it has absorbed the essence of the sun that it has bathed in for millennia. Think of all the history that has occurred here, the many thousands and millions of people who have come across this powerful place. Humans, just like you and I, going through life hundreds and thousands of years ago, thinking thoughts not that different from ours, wanting things, shelter, leisure, now, standing under the open sky, framed by the temple's remains, Amelia points out the constellations that the ancient Greeks themselves named and used for navigation and storytelling. Can you see Orion? She says. The hunter was a favorite subject in ancient Greek myths. The stars seem brighter here. The celestial sphere and the Parthenon exist in harmony. a cosmic balance, perhaps, of the man-made and the divine. Then Amelia takes you to the inner sanctum where the great statue of Athena once stood. You enjoy this moment, the solitude of just being with your guide. No crowds, just you being curious in a phenomenal place. As you look at where the statue once stood, Amelia paints a vivid picture with her words, detailing the grandeur of the once golden ivory statue. This was not just a place of worship, she says, but a symbol of the Athenian unity and identity. Standing here, perhaps you can almost sense the devotion and awe that once filled this space. Perhaps, for you, it's a humbling experience. An experience that connects you to the past and puts things in perspective in your own world. You continue your walk, and Amelia begins to talk about the great philosophers who once walked the same ground that you're walking on now. Imagine Socrates, Plato, or Aristotle debating here, exchanging ground-breaking ideas under the same stars we're seeing, she says. The air seems to thicken with the weight of those words. Those words, those thoughts that have in so many ways shaped Western philosophy. You take a moment to breathe here, to breathe in the energy of this place, allowing it to enrich your soul, allowing it to heal you allowing it to give you permission to just let go. Amelia continues. She tells you that Aristotle studied under Plato, and Plato was a student of Socrates. Each had different views, yet they are collectively the cornerstones of what we now call Western philosophy. Amelia has a soft spot for Socrates. She tells you that he was less concerned with cosmic questions and more interested in how people should live. His method of questioning, known as the Socratic method, is still taught in law schools today. Perhaps you imagine Socrates draped in his simple clothing, interrogating the Athenian youth about the nature of justice, ethics, and the good life. Imagine him standing on marble, surrounded by olive trees, his questioning spirit abounding. He never wrote anything down, Amelia tells you. So what we know of him comes from his students. Then she talks about Aristotle. She tells you that Aristotle believed that the key to understanding the world was through science. You look around, imagining the young Aristotle walking this very path, observing the natural world and jotting down his thoughts. Then Amelia talks to you about the Stoic philosophers, how those philosophers believed that if we sit in acceptance of the world around us and the realities of life, that we can live in much more contentment. She tells you that the Stoics reminded humans to put themselves in the shoes of others, to remember that we are all doing our best here on planet Earth, and that if we remember to be patient and kind, our own experience of life will be a much more fruitful existence. Feeling the depth of these reflections, perhaps you suddenly understand that the physical stones and pathways of this great place are but a surface layer. The true essence of the Parthenon and Athens as a whole lies in its intellectual and spiritual contributions to humanity. As you step back to admire the full scope of the Parthenon under the moonlight, Amalia points out how it was designed with astonishing precision. It's hard to believe that it was constructed in just 15 years, completed in the year 432 BC. Amalia tells you that it is filled with optical illusions. The architects made the temple appear perfectly straight and symmetrical, though in reality there's hardly a straight line to be found. Then she shows you the sculpted panels that once adorned the temple. Though many have suffered the wear of time, it's possible still to discern the artistry of the scenes they depict. Battles, myths, and all different parts of ancient Greece's rich cultural and religious life. As you walk along the periphery, your eyes catch the frieze that shows the Pantheonaic procession, a big celebration for the Athenians. Each figure appears lifelike, lives long gone, but not forgotten, immortalized in stone. Amalia tells you that the Parthenon wasn't just a temple to Athena, but it served as a treasury. The opulence and majesty of the structure were a testament to the city-state's power and accomplishments. Now your tour is coming to a close. And Amalia invites you to sit by a little fire that she lights to stay warm. The air is cooler now, and apart from the crackle of the little fire, there is a serene silence over the area. You sit there, letting your eyes drift from the towering columns to the night sky above. The stars twinkle as if in a dance with the gods themselves, lighting up the Parthenon as if Athena, the goddess of wisdom, is smiling down on you, keeping you safe. You sit and enjoy this moment, savoring the greatness around you and the calming energy of this special place. Tonight, you have a very special invitation. You have the opportunity to spend your night in a museum. An old friend of yours works at the museum as a night security guard and has offered you a chance to visit him. You are now standing in front of the museum. Soft rain is pattering on your umbrella. Breathe in the clear, cool evening air. Dusk has already set in, but you can see the museum building clearly in front of you. It is illuminated with bright yellow lights. Your gaze wanders over the impressive building. The two-story facade, with its ornaments, is reminiscent of an old, stately mansion. The high windows are separated from each other by delicate stucco work, and above the entrance there are several statues and figures. A magnificent dome sits on top of the museum, forming a floor all of its own, and 6 great columns flank the large entrance gate. Your lungs fill once again with the fresh, rainy air, and then you slowly ascend the wide staircase to the entrance. The last visitors for the day are just leaving the museum, and a little boy hops exuberantly down the steps beside you, out into the summer rain. You smile and shake out your umbrella before entering the large wooden front door. The interior of the museum immediately immerses you into another world. Beautiful murals decorate the high entrance hall. Large passageways lead to the various exhibition rooms. You still have time before you meet your friend, and so you choose to look around the place in peace. The department of prehistory seems like a good first choice. The room you enter takes you back to a time when our ancestors were still hunters and gatherers. Slowly, you stroll around and look at the exhibits. Spear points and cave paintings are on display. On one of the walls hangs a variety of stone tools. You admire how finely they are made, and it amazes you that these were made by human hands many thousands of years ago. When you enter the next exhibition hall, a lifelike figure of a Neanderthal awaits you. Frozen still, he sits on a stone in the middle of the room. He rests his head on one hand, and he looks as if he is thinking about something. You look back at him, wondering what he is thinking about. It strikes you that this is an amazingly well-made statue. The Neanderthal shows a deep intelligence. In the last exhibition room, you learn that most people lived in simple huts, and they lived together in small groups. You look back to the Neanderthal man. What would he have to tell you about his life? In some ways, he doesn't look much different from us people today. Slowly, you stroll into the next room. Pictures and displays show how the Ice Age changed the lives of our ancestors. You learn more about their first settlements and houses, and how they changed from hunters to farmers and traders. Soon, you move on to the next section of the museum, the aquarium and sea life exhibition. There are many tanks here, and the first one that catches your eye is filled with an array of marine creatures, all illuminated by small hidden lights. There are beautifully colorful corals everywhere, soft sand on the ground, and little bubbles ascending their way up. You see a group of brightly colored clownfish darting around their coral home, their vibrant orange and white stripes standing out against the blue background. They move with such grace and fluidity. The sea anemones sway gently in the current, creating a mesmerizing display of color and movement. You pass along the other smaller tanks until finally you come across a huge round tank filled with jellyfish. They are illuminated in cool blue tones, their delicate bodies floating gently in the water. As they pulse and drift, they create a calming and hypnotic effect. Take a few moments to appreciate the beauty of these creatures. Look at how they move with such ease. Perhaps you feel a sense of wonder and awe at the diversity of life in our oceans. Or perhaps you feel grateful for the opportunity to witness it up close. It has become very quiet around you. The last visitors have left the museum. Your time in the world of prehistory and the aquarium is over, and you have looped back into the entrance hall. A large sign points to an art exhibition by various painters. But before you set off, you meet your old friend. He invites you to follow him up to the top floor. A wide staircase with a red carpet takes you up one floor before you ascend an elegant, wrought iron spiral staircase to the very top. A large circular room opens before you, and you recognize the domed structure you had noticed as you entered the museum. In the center, a huge telescope takes up most of the space. Various images adorning part of the walls show a wide variety of constellations and planets. The rain clouds have cleared, and so you get the unique opportunity to experience tonight's full moon up close. With a hum, the gate in the dome opens slowly, revealing an unobstructed view of the beautiful sky above you. The silence of the night envelops you. Slowly, your eyes adjust to the darkness. Small grey clouds occasionally pass through the sky and condense on the horizon to form a new rain front. But at the moment, the bright moon bathes the night sky in a magical light. Looking through the telescope reveals its fascinating views. Even the smallest craters and elevations are visible on its surface. You lean back and absorb its powerful energy. In the meantime, the rich darkness of night has descended over the entire sky, and more luminous dots appear. Like sparkling diamonds scattered randomly across the firmament, some larger, some smaller. Some stand alone, Others have formed groups. Perhaps you can even make out some constellations. For a while, you just sit there and enjoy the beauty of this picturesque full moon night. Your thoughts wander back to the starry sky, and maybe it strikes you that our ancestors looked at the same moon as we do tonight. Slowly, the rain clouds move closer. One by one, the sparkling lights of the stars disappear behind the clouds, like they want to hide. The first little raindrops find their way to earth. After the gate to the night sky is firmly closed again, you descend back into the halls of the museum. Your friend tells you to go and enjoy the museum on your own, and to stay as long as you like. The museum is yours. You have your own private viewing. The large sign from earlier catches your attention again, and so you follow the signposts to the art exhibition, and you end up in the former courtyard of the building. A cloister with white arches surrounds the entire place. A glass roof protects the inner yard from the outside world. And in the meantime, darkness has completely descended over the museum. Small, hidden lamps illuminate the individual works of art and bathe the entire atrium in an extremely pleasant, warm light. You stroll around and marvel at the exquisite paintings. Each painting tells its own story. You go close to the paintings and see the brush strokes of the artist. Perhaps you imagine the moment this brushstroke was added. Where was this painting then? How long ago did it happen? What was the artist thinking when they painted this? The rain has started again and constantly falls on the glass roof as you wonder from one work of art to the next. The silence of the museum envelops you, and you feel deeply comfortable and peaceful here. One very special painting captivates you. It's a depiction of simple village life. There are small houses, a river, and a watermill. You take a seat on the small bench that stands under one of the courtyard arches, and you lean against the cool column next to you. The gentle pattering of rain on the roof has a calming effect, and perhaps makes you a little sleepy. Your tired eyes explore the painting in front of you. It almost seems as if the watermill is starting to turn. Gradually, you notice more and more details until you are mentally immersed in this tranquil country scene. In a wondrous state of dream and reality, you glide into this environment and find yourself in it. You see the lush green meadow stretching out before you. It reaches the horizon, where it gently merges into an increasingly steep mountain landscape. A balmy breeze sweeps across it, carrying the sweet scent of spring flowers and fresh grass to your nose. The path you are on leads to a nearby village. You can clearly see the church tower. It rises majestically above the roofs of the surrounding houses into the blue sky. The branches of the trees sway gently in the warm wind. Their still young blossoms shine in bright rose and white colors. Attracted by the sweet scent, the buzzing of countless insects fills the air. But a completely different sound catches your attention. A faint hissing noise reaches your ears. As you take more steps up the path, it slowly becomes louder and louder. A larger building appears in front of you. The front part houses the living quarters. A beautiful thatched roof and white curtains on the small windows give the building a cozy appearance, and a weather vane is proudly sitting on the foremost edge of the roof. And in front of the building is a lovingly laid out garden. In it grows a variety of vegetables and herbs, and the sun's rays shine down upon them. You take a few steps around the corner, and you find the reason for the steady murmur of sound. A stream flows by, and it runs over a large wooden water wheel. You are actually standing in front of a beautiful and very charming watermill, the one you saw in the painting in the museum. You settle down at the edge of the stream, and you watch the water make its way over the groaning wheel. When the water shoots out again, countless water drops shine and spread in the air. They sparkle in all the colors of the rainbow, in the warm sun, before they reunite with the rest of the water and return to the stream. You slowly let yourself lie down in the soft grass and enjoy the spring warmth on your skin. You hear the village children, their carefree laughter. You relax. The steady sound of the water wheel puts you into a deep calm. Your muscles relax. With every breath, you take in the peaceful atmosphere, and you allow yourself to let go more and more. Slowly, the sound of the water fades into the soothing patter of the rain. Still leaning against the pillar, you sit with your eyes closed and enjoy the pleasant silence in the museum. Sleepily, you listen to the steady sound of the rain on the glass roof above. Your mind is so sleepy. Relax. Because the more you do, the more everything around you softens. The noise around you turns into a soft background noise. It's no longer important. Let the sounds accompany you. As you drift gently and safely feel a pleasant warmth inside you. Feel yourself sinking deeper and deeper. Feel how everything releases, how your muscles loosen, you are light and relaxed. Listen to the light wind, the monotonous rain, you are safe here. Here in the museum, it's comfortably warm here, while it becomes more and more rainy outside. You are safe and protected. Now it's time. Time to sleep. Relax. Your body is so tired. Let go. Go to sleep. Sleep deeply and soundly. All is well, and you are well. Sleep deeply and soundly. Long and restful. In complete peace. On this beautiful rainy night, you are enveloped in peace and tranquility. All is well. And you sleep deeply.